And good evening, everyone. I'm Blane Singletary, and this is the ARML on this Friday night. I'm joined today by Tucker, also known as Ennui. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm very excited for what's looking like to be a pretty stellar table of Mahjong we're going to be covering.
Yes, we've got some seriously strong players right now tonight. It's the A1 group. These are the best of the best, and we're going to see how they play. It's going to be. Uh, I've commentated one of these matches before in A1, and it's just completely inhumanly like throwing tiles, making melds, making extremely huge hands out of nowhere. So you definitely don't want to miss a minute of this, or even a second.
It should be noted that the player starting south, Eric, is the league champion from the Beta League. So the first ever league champion of the ARML, and it was very exciting to watch those games. That was our first official broadcast. And then across the table, Kenyon was also a part of that league championship. So we've got two of the people who came in top spots in their pools in the Beta League participating at this very table.
Absolutely, and you can see pretty high win rates from all four players here, 22, 23. Yeah, and there's the gong. Here we go, East 1, and the opening door is West. And we can see already a West in the dealer's hand with some pretty decent shapes of all three suits. Maybe we'll see what happens with the closed weight there on the Sozu. Looking over on the right, we're seeing a lot of five bonds there, triplet there, a pair there, got another pair of the one pin as well. Looking up across, there's good presences of all three suits there, and the Haku. And over on the left, there's the pretty good presence of Sozu there. Looks like he's already called the north and getting ready for a Honitsu of some sort.
Yeah, Huang called that north very, very early, was pushing towards Honitsu right from the beginning of the hand.
Right. And we'll see how that develops here. Already, it looks like that's exactly what he's going to go for. Dropping the Haku already, despite having a pair up across.
Well, Kenyon does have
there.
incredible shapes in their hand. I mean, that 2, 3, 4, 5 in Manzu, the 5, 6, 7, 8 in Sozu. I mean, having two of those Nobiton shapes, you're a lot more likely to get value. Keeping this hand closed, calling Richi on some sort of Richi, Tanyao, Pinfu, possible Sanshoku, if you can get a 5, 6, 7 or something of the sort, according to how you draw into those Nobiton shapes. So I feel like discarding the Haku is a very neat little play here.
And we see that A Gimmick has already discarded theirs in response. That makes one more tile to finish off that Honitsu. And looking back at the dealer, got 6s and 7s in Pinzu now. I think that's Ishan 10, I believe.
It's a very awkward Ishan 10. Will be in Tempai drawing into the 2, 4, 6 Ryankan shape. Or into or by completing a triplet of 6-peen or 7-peen. But what you'd really like to do is draw a 5-peen or 8-peen, I would think, and turn that Ryankan into your pair somehow.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you've got, excuse me, when you've got two closed weights like that. Oh, but here we go.
Yep, and that's exactly what I was imagining would happen. Draw the 5-peen or 8-peen, now you have a shot at Pinfu and Ipeiko. Drop the 2-mon, and now the 4, 6, or 9-mon all get you to Tempai for Pinfu Ipeiko, although we do have a Richi across the table.
Yes, and they're also looking for that 4-mon. 4-mon or 1-mon will complete the hand up top.
Or 7-mon.
Or 7-mon, yes, good catch there.
Yeah, Richi Pinfu on the San Min-chan weight.
Yes, and then 1's already in 3 1's already in the discards there. 2 of the 7s. And the 4 and the 7 are in the dealer's hand right now. Still quite a few in the wall. With about 20 tiles to go with that.
Even when you can see a lot of those red tiles, whenever it's a wide open 3-sided weight like this, where every single tile gives you Pinfu, there's almost certain to be some in the wall.
That's right, especially when you have a big net cast like that, like you said. Meanwhile, A Gimmick looks like he's abandoning the Chinitsu there, or sorry, Honitsu rather. There's a good shape of Manzu growing in now.
And similarly, Oliver has played mostly safe tiles. I mean, I think the players are trying to Mawashi a little bit here, trying to keep some sort of Tenpai, but there's the deal.
There's the 4.
Didn't have auto win on,
Thinking
of course.
about it.
Yeah, I think this thinking about it is maybe just like grabbing a drink and walking away, or it's just Pinho glitching.
Oh yeah, the game just froze. All right.
that's a thing that happens sometimes.
Yes.
Just a 2,000 point roll.
Well, Kenyon wins the first hand, gets 20 points ahead early on. Sorry, 2,000 points ahead.
Yeah, and just doing some backwards math there must not have been any Ura. So that was just Ricci Pinfu.
A very modest lead, but a lead nonetheless. And moving on to East 2, where the door is 2. So, and Dealer already having a pretty quick hand, it looks like. It's going to be pretty easy to complete, I would imagine, with good presences of all 3 suits there working pretty well together.
Yeah, the 1-2 Mon might get in the way a little bit, and the 8-9-9 Mon shape, like, it's complex, but having those 2 Pinchon shapes is probably going to want to shift those inward somehow.
Yes, it's always a little bit slower to have that waiting on the edge there. Taking a look at over on the right in Yuki Tora's hand, a lot that needs to still get organized there. It's there are quite a few floating tiles. That 5 pin and the 6 so need to be something done with them. And over across, it's also getting pretty close. There's the picking up the 9. That's not going to fit, but there's good shapes from Manzu, Pinzu, and Sozu. Similar story on the left. And now the tunes are coming out of this with the South called over on Yukitora's side.
And Eric has managed to find Ishanten here, has not been able to improve this weight at all. I imagine would like to draw a 6 mon or 8 mon around the 7 mon. Can shift the Sozu shape now. Yeah, shifts down to accept the Dora Tuso. I might have thrown away the 7 mon there. Although, but that 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, to keep the 2, 3, 4, 5, be able to accept another Dora. That's the Nobiton shape is obviously a very, very good shape.
Of course, he's waiting on the 3, and as we can see, all 3 of those, there's an Anko of the 3 mon up in the hand across. So I doubt that's going to be dropping out, and even if it did, not like he could really take it.
Yeah, so, but now upgrading to this 5 peen is really, in most cases, with the 3 peen and 2 peen discarded, and now another 4 peen, I don't know if it's still the case, but this 5 peen is more efficient than the 1-2 mon, so we might see this 1-2 dropped off now. Yep.
And there it goes with the 7 pin getting drawn. Trading an edge weight for a closed weight, that's certainly a good move there. Picks up the 9. There we go, Tenpai, looking for the 6 so. 6 pin, rather. One of them's already been discarded, and no sign of the others. All 3 still in the wall. Sumo. And there it is!
Wow. Richiya Patsu Sumo. Dora 1. No Ura, but has the dealer Mangan anyway.
They'll take that. Very nice, blazing score for Flan here. Moving on to East 2 with 1 repeat. Pretty decent hand here. It's got to figure out what to do with that 1 and 5 pin there, but we'll keep an eye on that. Taking a look at the right there. It's pretty decent. He could make something good out of that, I believe. And across, he's looking like some good shapes there already, and a pair of the 9 in. We'll see what he does with that 3 mon he just drew. Boom. And over on the left, good presence of honors just calls that 6 pin, and looks like he's going for, well, he has options here, but he could possibly get Toy Toy with those 3 other pairs already in hand.
I don't typically expect that 4, 5, 7 shape to end up getting discarded into Toy Toy, though you never know. It's just the 4 or 5 is so much more likely to complete with a 3 or a 6.
And he has options with the Haku or Hatsu, so...
Yeah. Since there are 2 Dora in that hand, I imagine you're perfectly okay just taking the Hatsu pawn and having Hatsu Dora too.
No need to get too greedy. It's only East 2 right now. We have a Anko of the North up cross. That's not the seat, but it can be used to push this hand to completion.
That hand is growing in such an awkward way. The 1-2 peen are kind of crumbing up the hand. The 3-mon, that floating 3-mon, isn't incredibly useful, although if you draw the 2-mon, it of course adds value.
Here's the North. Wouldn't be worth calling Khan on that, of course. And
nobody reached Tenpai yet, although Kenyon on the right is Ishanten.
Very close. Looking for possibly making a pair out of the 9? Well, that would be...
Pair out of the 9, or you could draw the 1 so
like that. There we
also
go.
works.
And open Ipeiko, of course, not worth any points, but useful for completing the hand.
Eric now having to choose which shapes to trim down here. Can discard the Hatsu, can discard away from that So shape, which is the choice that's made, keeping the option for 1-2-3 Sanshoku alive, seeing that this hand is not going to have much value without it.
Completely dismantles that 5, 6, 6, 6, 7. Yeah, we're looking for the 2 now. Don't see it discarded, so he probably thinks he has a pretty good chance of that. And as we can see, only one of them residing in the hand across. Speaking of the hand across, he's picked up a Dora and picks up the other 2. It looks like he's... it looks like Ipeiko possibilities, anyway.
Yeah, Ishanten for Ipeiko, Dora 1. Ooh, another 2.
Oh, okay. This can get interesting.
Although you still probably want to get to Tenpai drawing the 1-mon here. The 1, 4, or the 7.
Still, those are in the wall. Well, a few of them, anyway.
Oh, that was interesting. Oliver on the left could have called Chi on the 6-0, and then would have been Tenpai. It would have been a Atozuke Tenpai on the 5-mon and Hatsu. Perhaps worried about the prospect of drawing a 5-mon before someone discards the Hatsu. Oh, and now Gimmick across the table getting Tenpai. Drew the 7-mon, waiting on the 1-mon or 4-mon, is keeping it Dama, which it's so late in the hand, perhaps is just worried
now he's
about
calling Ricci.
Well, there it is.
Just wanted to feel the waters out.
Oh, an immediate con to break Ipatsu.
Well, there's no turning back now. You kind of have to get that Hatsu to really, I feel like, get to finishing this hand. I guess at least if you are Tenpai, you can still get the end of round points, as it were.
That also changed who got the final tile. I believe, now I didn't see it until after the number changed, but I believe Gimmick would have gotten the last tile draw, if not for that con. So I think with those 2 Hatsu in hand, Oliver deemed their hand safe enough to call that con to keep Gimmick from getting the last draw. So a very high level move there.
Interesting. Oh, but here's the 1. Probably not going to drop it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get you into Tenpai, so no real reason to.
So Gimmick goes away with 3,000 from the other players, 1,000 all. And that moves us on to East 3, playing that one to a draw.
I do wonder if Oliver had no calls on that last hand, because it did seem like, Korak even mentioned it in the chat, it'd be curious to find that out later, although too bad we can't see those settings in the logs.
Right. I seem to remember hearing that Oliver tends to play with no calls on. That could have been someone else I heard of, though. Looks like we got a little freeze there, but we'll reload and get right back to that in a little bit.
Man, and I didn't even notice beforehand, but 3 of these players are in the top 5 in A1. True. Eric 5th, Kenyon 3rd, Huang 2nd. That's pretty incredible.
Even Oliver's still got a good shot at jumping to positive territory, and even just this match, let alone the second game later on tonight. But now we can see the hand, and it seems to be progressing. The dealer's hand right now is pretty close. Pretty close. Got a good shape of a Pinzu there with the 2, 3, 4. And other shapes in progress. Picking up that 9. Might do something with that, might not. Looking at Gimmick's hand, already called the meld of 5, 4, 5, 6. Seems to be going for counting on that Hatsu, and then coming forth with a Dora as well. I see the Dora is 5 Mon again. And across we see the pretty good shape there with some pairs there. The shape of
a
the
possible
Pinzu.
1, 2, 3 Sanshoku.
Yes.
Although that 4 pin did kind of get in the way of that.
He's going to hang on to that, see what happens. And then on the left, good presence of Manzu. Got some pairs there with 1 Mon, 2 Pin, and 2 North, but has also already called a meld of the Sozu, 3, 4, 5.
Is now going to have to discard a shape. Probably one of these pairs. Yep, discards the 1 Mon. Since Eric went Otozuke, has to rely on the North now unless they can draw enough simples to shift into a Tanyao.
That's true. Oh, draws a Chun. That's another option. But you already have 1 Chun discarded, albeit just 1, so still possible. He's keeping his options open right now.
Well, 2 Chun have been discarded now that Gimmick discarded 1 last turn.
I see that. You're right.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen already, these represent the second and third, I believe, Otozuke hands already. This one on the left, Eric's, does not yet contain any Dora, but accepts it, and then Gimmick's on the right does have 1 Dora in it. So I do wonder whether we've been a little bit more willing to go Otozuke having the Dora in hand. Did Oliver just reject Tenpai? Yeah, Oliver just rejected Tenpai. Could have discarded the 3 Mon, been Tenpai waiting on the 3-So, which came the next turn! The immediate backfire, although it was a bad wait, so I don't totally blame them, but oof, that hurts.
You never know what the wall's going to do sometimes. Meanwhile, Blane was in Tenpai just now. Eric was just in Tenpai, waiting on the 5 or the North. Could only call the North for victory, but he's going to shift this into something a bit more agreeable, getting rid of that pair of 5 Pin.
Yeah, there is a North just hanging off in Oliver's hand, so I do wonder whether we will see that come out at any time. To Oliver right now, it's a safe tile.
Mm-hmm. And it is, yes, it is a safe tile. There's a 3 Mon, and there's Reach. Now he's waiting on that North. And so is Eric. Well, no, he isn't. No.
That is absolutely fantastic. I do wonder with the 3-4-5 call that Eric made, and with all the middle tiles in Eric's discards, a couple of 7-So, a 7 Pin, and then those 2 5 Pin that were Tadashi, whether Oliver kind of sussed out that Eric might be waiting on the Norths there, that Eric might have opened Otozuke and held on to that North out of pure defense.
Well, these are very high-level players, as you said, making very high-level plays.
And Eric just folding now, giving up the Otozuke hand.
Looks like we're going to roll this down to a draw. And there we go with the West.
Yeah, taking one of those quick looks around that table when you draw the under the sea tile, you're always like, okay, people have discarded this one, right? Right? Surely. Yeah. Surely the West can't be a winning tile.
Not only is that an extra Han you'd have to pay, it's also just feels terrible. Anyway, we're moving on to 2 Honba here in East 3.
3 Honba, 2 Riichi 6.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Can't quite see the dots there sometimes, but there we go. Oh, already a call of East up across. And it's looking at the... Sorry, go on.
There have been a lot of calls already in this game, and I wouldn't really consider any of these players, other than Eric, perhaps, to have high call rates. And even a 41.2%, it's not wildly high. Like, that is, that's maybe just barely on the upper end of average.
That's true. And you see that a lot looking at just higher level players really around the world, like a lot of JPML players as well. Not really doing a lot of calls in their hands, but yeah, we have a lot, and they're happening very early on, so they're making very quick decisions about how they want these hands to play out. And speaking of how you want this hand to play out, look at the dealer now. I believe that's Ishan 10 on a pretty good reachy hand. Got a Dora there in the tune. And that could turn into something very quickly. Draws the 5.
And Oliver's still not getting Tempai with their hand across the table. They're holding desperately onto that Dora tune.
Mm-hmm. Especially with one already dropped. To wonder what he's thinking as far as, can I capitalize on this one tile? But he did call East, and we do have Tenpai over on Gimmick's side. Looking for the 7 pin. 7 pin. You can see it. There's 2 in hand right now, and they're pretty well locked into shapes. And 2 left in the wall, with 40 tiles to go.
Yeah, and that will be Riichi Tanyao, hoping for some Ura.
It's always a pretty good idea to put it in the hands of the Uradora.
Ooh, this 7 pin is really going to disrupt Kenyon's hand.
But he's hanging on to it. Could potentially turn into something.
Now we have Tenpai from Ash waiting on the 4-mon and 7-mon. And Ash made a move here that we've already seen players do a few times in this Hanchan so far. Had a Pinchan and a middle tile. Held onto that middle tile for as long as they possibly could. Eventually drew next to the middle tile, as you expect to do, since they have such good efficiency, and was able to discard that Pinchan. And the Pinchan, being a 1 and a 2, just slightly safer against Gimmick's Riichi than other tiles may have been. So that's one of those high-level plays that I think we could all learn from a little bit in both efficiency and defense while building your hand at the same time.
That's right. Meanwhile, it looks like those 7 pins are having a home in Yukitora's hand. Could be an Ipeko, but there's the 4-mon, and that's it. Just, believe that's East only for 1,000 points.
But that was very much upgraded by the 3 Riichi sticks and 3 Homba. I mean, that added 3,900 onto that. So it ended up being a 4,900 Tanyao. Mm-hmm. Or East.
That's
East only for 4,900.
That's when you want to make those quick plays, when there's a lot just sitting there in the pot. Somebody's got to take it. Might as well be you. Now, looking at this East 4 now, with a cleared pot, we have 3 pairs in the dealer's hand. A pretty decent Sozu shape as well. Over on Ash's hand, we have now a growing presence of the Manzu picking up that pair. Good 1, 2, 3 on the Sozu as well. And across we have it looks like a great presence of Pinzu there. Can accept this 8-pin door as well, but it's a little far off to make a call on that just yet. And on the left, a sequence of the Manzu 3, 4, 5, and a lot of Sozu in there as well. 2 completed
that is Tenpai
already. That is Tenpai picking up that 8-pin. Now looking for the 3-pin to finish that off right here in the first row.
I do wonder, this is a very, very interesting hand. If you draw the 5-pin, you would be Furitin, waiting on the 3-pin, 7-pin, but the 3-pin gives you Sanshoku.
But
it's just going to draw the 3-pin first turn anyway. Has 2 Dora, didn't really need it, just gets the Sumo Mongon.
Wow.
And cleans up.
No Riichi required on that when you got a hand that strong. Might as well stay stealthy, especially that early. But as Korak is pointing out in the chat, punished. Of course, Korak is a Riichi aficionado, the call Riichi.
Well, not... Oh, because it would have been Ipatsu. So with Riichi and Ipatsu, although, to be a little fair to Kenyon here, Apatsu on a Kanchan wait is anything but likely that early in the hand. I mean, there's only 4 of those tiles anywhere in the wall, so you definitely don't expect Ipatsu. You really expect to roam that hand, although a roam would not have been Mongon unless you reach it. So, still decisions to be made there.
Mm-hmm. And taking a look now in South 1. We have Ash as dealer, and the Dora is 3 so. Good shapes in the early going here for the dealer's hand. 2 pairs of 3 pairs rather, of 1 Manzu, 3 pin, 5 pin. On the left, we already have a call of Souths. That's the seat and the round win, so already guaranteed 2 Han from this, with a good presence of the Manzu and some Pinzu shapes in progress. Over across, seeing some pairs. There's 3 at the moment. And over on the left, we have a few pairs there as well. So hands
Eric is really
nice.
turned on the turbo boosters here. Does not have really a great hand at all. But
and there's another call.
Absolutely everything to get there. I mean, the hand was... Well, the two sequences that have been called here were really Eric's 2 best shapes in hand. Those were both of Eric's Rionman shapes.
Mm-hmm. Now he's got a little bit of work with these last 4 tiles to get them into something.
Oh, another 9 pin for Gimmick.
Oh.
This is Ishan, or wait, is it Ishanten? Yes.
Yes, it is.
It is. I really need that 6-0 to be out of hand to see that.
Wouldn't we all? Oh, now we're 10 pi on Flan, looking for the 3 pin only.
Set up a Sugi trap.
That he did. Now Ricci called up across, and they're looking for the 7 and the 4.
Yeah, for just Ricci Dora 1.
Mm-hmm. The 4 already discarded. The 7s are already in Flanzu's hand.
God!
Ooh. Looking for that Rinshan tile. Doesn't get it. There's the 4-mon, though.
Does flip the 7-mon as the new Dora, but it doesn't matter. Eric getting a neat Mongon. That gave Eric 2 Dora, which made that a Mongon for Eric. So Eric's lead just increased thanks to that con. Which, I mean, I do believe that's still a good con from Kenyon. You expect your weight to be the better one, even though you do expect Eric as Tenpai. I feel like that's a correct con in that case.
And angling for that Rinshan, pick up an extra Han while you're at it. Why not?
Oh, Eric has another beautiful hand here. A very clear 1-2-3 Sanshoku if you can draw in the ones, and can even shift to a 2-3-4 Sanshoku according to how you draw into the Sozu and Manzu shapes.
That's true. Man, Flo is really with Flanzu tonight in South 2. The Dora is 1 so. He could pick that up in this hand as well. We'll see how that develops. Take a look at the other ones. We have an Anko of the Red Dragons already in the right hand, with a good shape of Sozu already. Good shape of Pinzu. He's getting close. Or, sorry, they're getting close. Believe we... Never mind. Yeah. Never mind. It's Ricci time for Flanzo. Looking for the 7 so. And, of course, it's early on. None of those have been discarded yet. We do see it in Yukitora's hand, Kenyon's hand.
Yeah, Kenyon immediately discarding from this Anko of Chun. She's probably sensing that her hand is not likely to complete in time and is just going to play it a little bit safely.
You know, you have a lot of those just differing honors to deal something with. It drops one of them, drops the Chun, despite getting a pair from there.
Well, had 3 and then was discarding from the Anko to begin.
Oh, I see. That's right.
The switch to the 2-mon was because that was Oliver's discarded tile, and it was the safest tile on the board, theoretically, since it was the last tile discarded by someone who, you know, is not allowed to change their hand. Or by someone who is allowed to change their hand. Sorry, I said that backwards.
Right. Well, I completely forgot when I called the Anko of them right there at the beginning. A lot happens here in the ARML every second.
Gimmick.
Here we go. Oh, and deals in.
Gimmick was pushing that hand. Didn't have any value, but did have very nice shapes and elects to throw the 7-so out, it doesn't end up hurting Gimmick all that much. It was a very cheap.
No. Thankfully, Flanzu had all speed there, not a lot of value, but that's fine when you're dealer. Moving up to 48,500 points, a staggering lead in South 2. This hand, on the other hand, not looking as fast. We see a couple of three pairs rather, or four. Never mind. This could maybe go Cheetoy in some way. And
Can't accept the Dora 6-mon.
This is true with that 5-7 just waiting there. Looking over on Yukitora's hand. Good shapes in Pinzu forming up, and Sozu. Nothing really concrete just yet. And looking across, we have already an Anko for Pin, and some good shapes in Sozu forming up as well. And on the left, a lot of Pinzu, some pairs in the Manzu though as well.
Oh, getting the triplet of 1 Pin.
Ooh.
Okay, cementing the 4-so as the pair here. This hand could get a lot more value. Is holding on to that Dora. Would really like to incorporate the Dora. The next quickest way to get value other than incorporating the Dora would be, what's the decision point here? Has the 6-8-mon, 7-8 Pin, and 6-7 So. Alright, is not going to hold out for some sort of Sanshoku, is just going to discard the 6-so, take the slightly less efficient hand that has a guaranteed extra bit of value, although you still could, if you wanted, if you drew the 4-so, you could still get San Anko with that hand and turn it into a Mangan. Meanwhile,
Fonzo, calling the 1-sos there, 5 pairs going on, decides not to go for Cheetoy though. See what he's doing here. Might be looking to go Toy Toy instead.
Could be going Toy Toy. Could honestly also just be trying to shake the other players up. I mean, with the 2 3-mon and 2 2-mon discarded, perhaps thinks that 1-mon is more, the final 1-mon is more likely to come out from somebody. The 5-mon we're not super likely to see discarded, especially with it being next to Dora. The 8-so, again, could come out just being an 8, and the North you don't imagine someone else is typically going to be able to use. And there's another pair, so would have been Tenpai for Cheetoy, but also could just get rid of a less useful pair here to make this Toy Toy slightly more efficient.
That is true. The 2... keeps the 2. What he's thinking here.
None of the 2 Pin have been... Well, no, 1 2 Pin has been discarded.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
So the hand on the right has called the 3-so and has discarded no Pinzu. You could be thinking, if you are Eric, that you are unlikely to get to Tenpai, and that this 2 Pin might be dangerous to the player on your right. Although we'll discard it now, getting the Toy Toy Tenpai.
5-mon, 9 Pin. One of the 5-mons is the Dora indicator. And the other 2... There we go. 4,200 points added with that Honba. Moving us into South 3. It's crunch time for the other players to try to find a way up that 30k threshold, but Yukitora is already there with that 377. And a fairly... I was going to say fairly decent hand, but there's some work to be done with a lot of those closed, just even numbers all over that weight. You'd think there'd be some kind of a Yaku for that, but no, there is not.
And as the math teacher in me cannot let this pass. Those are almost all odd numbers, just as a side note. Just
right. I wonder what number, if green and white would be considered numbers, what they would be.
Korak the other day did say that the dragons were odd, that at least Chun and Hatsu, I believe, were both odd. So if Korak is any authority, I think that makes the Haku even.
Well, there you have it. Looking up at the other hands, a Gimmick calling a con of 3... Oh, the reds and the greens now. Perhaps putting out some... I mean, he's not got any of the Haku, so Daisan getting very far away. In fact, Yukitora's got one of them, but now the other players are going to think twice before dropping them.
Oh yeah. Although Kenyon though did just improve her hand significantly. That drawing in the 2-mon Dora, now you have a Dora, you have a shot at Sanshoku. You're not very close to winning this hand, but you're getting some value that you might want to fight anything but a Yakuman with. Now we have Tenpai for Huang. I would like to note that Gimmick got the second Yakuman of the ARML in the beta season. Won, right. I believe, a 13 Orphans in Session 4 to cement his hold on second place in Pool A. First place, of course, going to Eric on the left.
That's true. And was it Eric that got that first? No, I don't think that was him.
It was not. I believe it was Zeno who got...
I was at that. Yes, it was. Because I was at that table. I was at that table when it happened. Oh, picks up the 2-mon. Not going to drop it. I definitely see why. I mean, it could be anything you're waiting on, looking at these discards from Gimmick.
Well, the 2-mon seeming perhaps especially fishy now that Gimmick's hand looks like it could be a Chanta.
That is also true.
You see a lot of middle Pinzu discarded. Now, the 1-mon and the 1-mon has been discarded, which it could be discarded from a 1/1/3 shape, but...
You also don't want to drop it because it's the Dora, and that's just going to bite even harder if you do deal in. And you're in the lead, so, you just want to kind of take your foot off the gas now and coast the last couple of hands to victory.
Yeah, Oliver is also Tenpai, waiting on the North and the Onso no Yaku, but not willing to call Ricci against Huang's scary hand on the left.
Yes, that's all it takes is grabbing one of those whites off the wall and instantly regretting it. All your choices up to that point. But this is the third row. Being in Tenpai here is a good place to be, just to get something. And there's one of the Hakus.
Oh, Oliver has one. Kenyon has one. People are just holding on to these Hakus like, I don't feel good about this. I mean, Eric has 4 concealed wests. It's just okay. Geez. Now Oliver knows that the jig might be up.
There we go. But no one else knows that. Yukatora doesn't know that.
I guess technically it could be a 2-2 split. It could be 2 in Oliver's hand and 2 in Gimmick's hand from Oliver's perspective. So I doubt we see them discarded, but
still wanna. So see, there's the Con of West's called,
which prevents Gimmick from getting another draw. So another high-level defensive play there from Eric. That's the second time we've seen a con used to prevent the most dangerous player from getting the final draw of the wall, from getting that under the sea. I would say Haite or Hoite, but I always forget which is which. I know one of them's an A, one of them's an O, one of them is you draw the last tile, one of them is you win on the last tile, but I can never keep them straight. Do you know which one's which, Blane?
I only really know the English names, and I know that Under the River is called that because the wall looks like a river, and then Under the Sea is the pond in front with all the discards. So, I'm still learning a lot of the Japanese names for this. So, my apologies for people who insist upon that. But anyway, moving on. It's South 4. We have a long way to go for a Gimmick to try to gain back some points here. Possible 7, 8, 9 Shansoku?
I mean, Gimmick needs value. Although, it might be better. You might not be thinking of first at the start here. You have a set of goals. Your first goal, overtake Oliver. Your second goal, get to 30K. And then once you've gotten up to 30K, now we can start thinking about going for first. But you just want incremental steps before then.
Small steppy, better than no steppy. Oh, and that is a pretty good steppy, though. Look at that now with the Sozu.
A very good steppy, and can accept the Dora 6-mon. Eric, though, wants none of it. Doesn't want anybody catching up to him. Is calling for an open Tanyao. Has a beautiful hand to do it. It's already Ishanten. Can call all manner of pawns or cheese here to get into Tenpai.
We also have a call from Gimmick with an 7, 8, 9 on the Pinzu. So it looks like the Shansoku definitely a possibility for this game.
Forcing the Sanshoku here, since Eric is calling, thinking that you have to race Eric. Eric is notoriously very good at choosing when to call. The only issue is 2 of the 9-mon have already been discarded. So it's going to be very difficult to pick up the final one.
That indeed. And our broadcast director, Nathaniel, giving us a correction there in chat. Thank you for that. Haite is the last tile drawn, and Hote is the last tile discarded. So there, we've cleared that up. Thank you very much, Nathaniel.
Can always count on Nathaniel.
Oh, yes. Dude is an encyclopedia of this game. And meanwhile, I'm trying to make some progress halfway through the wall now, and Gimmick trying
there's Tenpai for Eric, waiting on the 2-peen and 3-peen.
Yes, the speed. It's all got to be all systems go. This game is in danger of ending. Oh,
and there's the 9 for Gimmick. Gimmick got it. We talked about how hard it would be for Gimmick to pull that in, but he gets it. Now waiting just on the 4-peen, but immediately Oliver gets Tenpai, calls Ricci on the 6-0, is now waiting on the 3-peen or 6-peen. So the middle Pinzu tile is just an absolute nightmare for everybody at the table here.
It's all a matter of who draws it. Then again, it could fit. Yeah, it's all a matter of who gets it first. Oh, but switches that out for a 5-so or the 8-so instead.
And neither would disrupt the 7-8-9 Sanshoku, because we have a 7-8-9 and then a 5-6-7-8 shape.
But there's the 3-peen, and that's gonna end this game with a, let's see, that's an Uradora, Ricci, Sumo. There we go.
And that Sumo did not change positions at all, but it did ensure the placement as it stood, which was very good for Oliver. So we end up here with Eric getting the plus 31.4, taking the first, extending, going higher up the rankings. Kenyon got the plus 10.6, a nice little move, also moving up the rankings. Oliver with a minus 9.3, just shifting down a little bit, lost 1 place on that, I believe. And then Huang, unfortunately, with a minus 32.7, has dropped all the way from 2nd down to 6th in Pool A now. Although, again, as we've said in every single other broadcast so far, it's early. These rankings are, nice, but they're just kind of mile markers along the way.
And that was a very valiant effort for Gimmick there on that South 4. Very close and just doing everything right. It just wasn't quite fast enough, and that's sad, but I would be satisfied with the effort made there.
It looks like the other game started at 8:46, so we have 4 more minutes until the second Hanchan starts. Do we have time, you think, to hop back to East 3 Repeat 2 was one of the hands where so much was going on. I don't know if will that be doable for Nathaniel to bring up quickly before the next game starts.
Yeah, there was a ton going on there, and it was pivotal. That could definitely have changed everyone's standings heading into the final part of the game, too. But yeah, I'm trying to think of some way to phrase that. Just a shootout. Some kind of a shootout.
Yeah, that last... Well, everybody wanted something out of that. Eric really wanted the game to end immediately. Huang really wanted to get into 3rd. And Ash very much wanted not to happen. So here we are. This is our East 3 Repeat 3. So if we take a step back into 2... I believe was the hand where all the funky stuff happened. And I think we can just fast forward a bit in this hand.
Chi.
All right, so we had the early Chi, right? Because part of what we were talking about was 2 people were Atazuke on this hand. And on the left, I believe that is Eric, who called the 3-4-5 so Chi to go Atazuke waiting on the north. And then we have the 4-5-6 Chi on the right from Huang, going Atazuke waiting on the Hatsu. Both players currently Ishanten. And then where are decision points? So obviously the 9-peen can't be called. The 6-peen doesn't help. There was a point. Okay, here we go. That was one point back here. For Eric, Eric draws the 9-mon. So that completes the 7-8. So
Right.
now we had to discard one of the pairs. We chose to discard the 1-mon pair, which I think makes sense. You can... The 5-peen might end up being more dangerous later on, but at the same time, you can draw next to that 5-peen to get better shapes. Okay. Discard the 1-mon. Discard the second 1-mon.
It was all about taking a risk. That.
All right, and there we had the Tempai. Drew in which tile?
I believe they drew in the.
All right, Drew in Dora.
5-mon. Yes, the Dora.
So now has North Dora 1. Draws a 4-mon and discards the 5-peen. Okay, this is what I was really curious about. Why this 5-peen discard? It's Nakasuji to Huang across the table, so it is a safer discard than the 4-mon. I mean, the 4-mon looks like it could perhaps deal into Sanshoku, although 5-peen just as easily could discard into a 4-5-6 Sanshoku.
Right.
No peens who have been discarded. Oh, no, just the 4-peen has been discarded on the left. But I don't know if you're really thinking left hand is all that dangerous. This is a very curious decision to me. I really want to know what this one is. I wonder, do you have any ideas on why the 5-peen discard instead of the 4-mon?
I'm at about as much of a loss as you are on that, but I think that's something we'd want to ask them about.
Yeah. We might need to save that. And then Oliver, of course, drew in the North, noticed that the North might be the weight for Eric, and then very wisely kept it as the final weight. Called Ricci because there's no other way to win that hand. And I think that's fairly reasonable. You don't really want to go Dama on it. So a very good defensive play from Oliver. Yeah, and then Eric just forced to fold after that. So I do wish that had been a little bit more enlightening, but I do not have the mahjong acumen necessary to figure out that 5-peen play. It is possible that it was a mistake, but my assumption anytime I don't understand what one of these players does is going to be that they're right and that we just need more analysis on the back end.
They could write an entire report on why that was important to do. Looks like, though, the next game is underway, I believe. Yes, here it is. So East 1, Gimmick is dealer first this time. Flanzu on the right. Yukitora on the cross. And Ash is on the left. And looking at the hands here now. Dora, of course, is the 6-mon.
Yeah, Gimmick really wishes he had a better hand here. I mean, 2 people have already opened, and he's still floundering around with a pretty ugly 3-shanten. I mean, it can improve very quickly, as is the nature of hands that are far away, but, still going through a mountain of honors.
I almost would have called that 2-mon, but there's the reach from Yukitora. Very quickly jumping into this here, looking for the... that's the 5 or the... No? Sorry,
just
that's
the 7.
Just the 7. Okay. Just the 7-mon.
We only see Dora 1.
Not a bad hand there at all. 7-mon is currently over in the hand on the left. All 3 are left in the other 3 are left in the wall. 36.
Unfortunately for Kenyon, the 7-mon would get Eric to Tempai, and Eric could fairly safely discard the North. The North is not Kenyon's win, so even if it is Kenyon's weight, it would not give Kenyon an extra Yaku, which is the fear with discarding live wins.
And Hong picks that up right away, the 7-mon.
And was also incorporated into Huang's hand, with that finishing off that Pinchan.
Absolutely.
And now the 7-mon fully integrated into Oliver's hand on the left, who is Tempai waiting on the 5-so and 8-so. So this 7-mon just kind of slowly entering people's hands, but very easily being used.
And there's already a meld of the 8-so called. So he's really putting his faith on that 5-so coming out. 2 of them are in the hand of the dealer at the moment. The other 2 are in the wall.
Yeah, at this
14
point,
tiles
it
to
would be
go.
very. Yeah, it would just be hard for Oliver to switch his weight at this point, I believe.
But here's the 8-so. I think it's either the 8-so or the 7 pin rather, and deals in. Not a huge loss though. A gimmick starting 1,000 points down, but still very early on. Moving on to East 2 now, and wow, look at these honors.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unique honors. Although this is not a hand that you want to push for Kokishi because you already have the double tone.
Yeah, very much, and that can turn into anything you want really, and still have lots of value. Possible, you could make an easy Honitsu out of this. Looks like still trimming out the extraneous honors, just the little floating ones, before deciding on which suit to go for, because really any of these could work. You have 3 of each, maybe looking to keep all 3. We'll see.
Yes. Eric, a little while back, gave his own thoughts about what to do with kind of rubbish hands at the start and how that's different, whether you are dealer or non-dealer. And it's very interesting seeing his thoughts just very clearly being on display before us. It's a garbage hand, but it has value with that double east, so he's immediately, rather than keeping safe tiles, tossing out all the junk, keeping the shapes that he can call, holding on to the Dora 3-pin. Even so, is not quick enough to keep up with Kenyon, who is already Tenpai waiting on the 6-9 mon.
6 and the 9. 2 9s already discarded in the early goings here. And the 6s are part of a 6-7 shape on both Ash's and Gimmick's hands right now. Gimmick just calling the Hatsu there.
Yeah, and Eric doing a little bit of Mawashi here. Called the Chi, probably just breaking it Patsu. But I wonder if we'll see more calls made by Eric if the opportunity arises. Has not found a way to integrate that Dora. That Dora looks incredibly scary. Ooh, with the 1-pin, that looks a lot better now.
Very
and the 3-so safe as well. So you have another safe discard. And the South.
Just waiting on... I mean, you'd need the 2-pin to complete that. We know of 2 already showing.
And Oliver across the table, Ishanten for Chi Toy.
Yes. Maybe he's thinking that could be a good, not Suji trap, but trap to someone looking to play defensive against Yukitora's hand. And it looks like putting on the gas for that. Ishanten now. Looking to resolve that 4-5 Banzu somehow.
Gimmick has a pair of the steal-in 6s. I wonder if he'll be able to hold on to those. The 7-pin draw. I mean, they're being used in the hand right now. Getting the Tenpai requires discarding the Dora, though. We do.
Now he's waiting on the Dora, but throws out to deal in to Yukitora there.
Yeah, took the Tenpai on the Chi Toy. Decided to take the Tenpai, obviously, on the Dora. Tossed out the less valuable 6-mon and unfortunately dealt in. But, I mean, all of the hands so far, these first 2 winning hands have been incredibly cheap. I mean, we're all still basically at starting value, so no real shaking happening yet.
Just the opening shots right now. Yukitora is dealer and in the lead by just 1,000 points. Has a pretty decent hand, I'd say, to
I
start
might
building
call
stuff.
this hand incredibly beautiful.
Yes. I'm seeing what you're seeing now. Yeah, that's actually quite nice. A lot of shapes that can turn into something very quickly and really seal the deal early on. My eyes are drawn to the hand on the left, though, with Eric's hand. Got some pairs, already a Anko of the 6-pin, and a pair of the Hakus as well. That could turn to something pretty scary.
Yeah, is holding on to the Dora North.
Mm-hmm.
Wanting to get a little bit more value out of this. A decision needs to be made now. Are we gonna go for a normal hand? Or are we gonna go for a
Drops the Dora.
Delaying the decision.
And, meanwhile on the right...
Poor Oliver.
Sometimes it'd be like that. You make the decision to drop the tune, and there are the other two.
Yeah,
Sad day, but...
Eric drew the decision maker tile there, pulled in the 3-mon, discarded the 1-mon, and is now going to go for a more normal hand. Has an Ishanten. If able to call pawn on the Haku, would have a 3-sided weight for the 5, 7, 8. The Ryantan. The Ryantan weight. The 3-sided pair weight.
Yukatora looking to open up her hand there. With now waiting on the 4 and 7 to finish that shape off. 4-so is dropped. Could have called... no, I don't think I'd call that, no.
Yeah, the 1-so pair is kind of in the way here.
Right. Interesting how they'll navigate that. Oh. Maybe not. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, keeping the West as a safe tile. 2 have been discarded. 1 is the Dora indicator tile. Obviously, no one is going for Kokoshi. This West is entirely safe. Just holding out to see when we get to Tenpai. Now, we have a neat little 2-sided weight for Eric. Ricci only waiting on the 6-mon or 9-mon.
And then all the 2 9-mons already discarded. Got a 6-mon waiting in the dealer's hand. And one of the 6-mons also down there. So pretty good odds still left in the wall. We'll see what happens there.
3 out of, 34?
Hey, yes, I believe so. Ticking down pretty quickly, though. Already past 20 left. And Ash there calling the South to speed this up since, the hand is over now, but it looked like it was about to end. And there we go, Ricci Ipatsu. Not Ipatsu, Sumo. Ricci Sumo. 2-han hand there, and that'll be enough to take the lead right now.
Yeah, well, basically anything is enough to take the lead right now. Basically anything is still enough to take the lead.
East 4, still a very close game. We're seeing a lot of Pinzu in the dealer's hand right now. And a few of those honors, though, are a little bit questionable what you do with those. I'd say probably drop South and West, and looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, South immediately called.
Yeah, would really like to make an Itsu with that hand, although if you're able to pair up the East and the West, you could make a Honitsu. You could make a case for Honitsu here, but that 5-so Dora is the main thing keeping you from wanting to do that.
4 pairs already in Eric's hand. Looks like a good shot at a Chitoi, but has a 3-4-5 Manzu shape in there to also use, perhaps. And Yukatora... oh, never mind. He's going for the... looks like Tanyao at the moment.
Yeah,
calling that 8-so.
A beautiful weight for this Tanyao, too. That is a perfect Ishanten. Has the 3-sided Ryanmen weight in the Manzu. Has the... oh, and then we have now the pair of 4-pin and the Ryanmen pair of the 4-4-5-so. Seeing a... oh. There it is. There's Tenpai. 2-5-8 weight.
5-8. None of those are discarded yet either. He's got to feel really good about that. Of course, the
Oliver, though. Oliver can fight. Just pulled in another Dora. Oh, and on the left, Kenyon drawing in another Tune.
Wow. These hands are building very quickly. Oh, now look at this.
The
Kenyon picks up... go ahead.
Yeah, no, you finished what you were saying. You were talking about the more important thing.
Yes, Kenyon picking up the Anko of 9-mon there and going Ricci. Looking for... is that the 3-so?
Yeah, the 3-so and the Tune.
The third 3-so, but there's the large net for the Manzu working out there in Flanzo's favor, picking up 2,100 points off of that beautiful, as you put it, Tanyao hand. And moving on to South 1. Scores still very close. Anybody could take this. Gimmick is back as dealer. Has a hand that's gonna take a little bit of work, but picking up some pairs, so we'll see what happens there. A good presence of the Sozu over on the right with Flanzo.
Kenyon forcing the Honitsu across the table had such poor shapes and so many honors, really nothing else to do. I guess could, with that one-mon draw, turn this into a Chanta instead, and that's why there's a hesitation here. Yeah, is kind of hedging her bets. Gonna keep the 1-3-mon, maybe this becomes a Chanta, just whatever you need to do to make this hand win.
You could even do both, perhaps, if the wall works out with you.
That's certainly worth the most value. The Chun is Dora, so gonna hold on to that for a while. I do imagine the Haku will come out relatively soon, with 2 already being discarded.
Meanwhile, Ash's hand, taking a look at that, has good... Oh, we have Tenpai, looks like, over on Flanzo's side. Looking for the 8 So.
Oh, wow.
2 of them are in hands right now.
It's just Dama, but can't call Ron. This has no Yaku as of yet.
That is true. Unless it gets picked up somehow from the wall, and from his point of view, all 4 of them are still in there, perhaps.
There's the pawn. And now
there we go.
We have a very nice little weight here. The 6-0, 7-0. A nice little... a tricky 2-sided weight to have. The Kantan, I believe it is called. Waiting for the pair, can draw the 6-0 to make the 5-0 the pair, or can draw the 7-0 to get the 7-0 as the pair.
Yes. I think we're seeing not a lot of... the last game, we had big hands flying everywhere. This one is a lot more of a almost defensive struggle, in a way. We're seeing the game staying very close, and it could just be luck, it could just be the hands being dealt the way they are. It's interesting to see two very different games here as far as the scores.
Oh, and now we have the Ricci, which had to discard the 7-0 to take that Tenpai. But it was another very small win. Now, since Eric has more small wins than anybody else, Eric does have a very neat little lead, but still, 2 players could Mongonron anybody and steal that first from Eric. So it's not a big lead by any means, but you would definitely rather be Eric than anybody else at the table right now, especially with this starting hand. The only problem being that 8 and 9 mon. Everything else is gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely. Also worth pointing out, Flanzo's the only player above the 30k threshold, so that's going to be worth lots of points even now, staying right where he's at.
I will be curious to see. Huang has the highest average score at the table, and part of the reason for that is he is very good about playing for expensive hands. So I feel like that Dora Chun might live in Gimmick's hand for a little while here, unless vast upgrades are made to the rest of the shapes in the hand. And that might put a little bit of a damper on Eric's progress here, because Eric definitely wants to call pawn on the Dora Chun.
You've got that 7 mons, and you've got a few other things you could conceivably discard before you get to that point. I think we'll see the 7 mon come out now, I believe. There it is. And it's called.
Time for Atazuke! Oh, now Eric has Gimmick in a trap. Little does he know it. The 2-peen obviously cannot win, but the Dora Chun would be a dealer Mongon, and that would be the big hand we've been waiting for so far.
That's going to crack this game open and make things very difficult to come back. And he's dealer, so he gets to go again and have another shot at something crazy like this.
Now we have Ishanten for Kenyon. A headless Ishanten needs to finish up that 5-6 peen shape, and the 2-4 mon shape can make either a pair or finish any of those sequences, and that will do it.
Meanwhile, Oliver's hand, progressing pretty nicely.
Yeah,
but he's going to need he's got an Ipeko possibility now.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Gimmick, his hand has not progressed at all. So it's still just kind of stuck.
Yeah. I mean, in any other situation, I'd like to discard that Chun, but it is the Dora. I I wonder if he's sensing... Oh, he did play the 2-pin. Of course, can't call Roan on that. With the no Yaku Furiten rule.
Ooh, that's dangerous. Do you discard the 1-2 shape before you discard the Chun? Do you notice that Eric has been doing Sumogiri? Yes, Hwang discards the 1-2 Sozu shape.
That's good table awareness right there.
Yeah, so at least one more turn of safety here for Gimmick.
Thinking a lot of the other players are noticing the 5 Sumogiris in a row. Now 6 Sumogiris in a row and thinking, oh, Flan's got something here. We don't want to touch it. Now's a chance for him to, well... I was thinking that would be a chance for him to drop the 7-so and then make it look like he's still working on his hand and is not in... Korak pointing out in the chat, Chun shouldn't come out because of the terminal call. Fair enough. Since we haven't had one yet.
That terminal call was very early, though, and these being as good of players as they are, I suspect they will never forget that. I know that I certainly, and many other intermediate players, would forget that call had a terminal in it once you get towards the end of the hand like we are now. Although, I mean, with the Dora Chun still being live, that's perhaps...
At this point, yes. With only 10 tiles left in the wall, somebody could be waiting on that conceivably at this point, and of course that is the case here.
Yeah, both Oliver and Kenyon making calls towards K10 here. Neither of them have Yaku, but both of them calling to get into Tenpai. Which it's really going to hurt them if they pull in the final Chun in the wall.
Yes, that'll be interesting to see if that does come out. For all we know, though, it could be in the dead wall. In fact, odds would say it is, at this moment. I guess if they knew exactly what Flan was waiting on, someone could drop the 2 while Gimmick drops the Chun, and then wouldn't be able to call that Roan either for Furiten's sake.
If you were incredibly clever... and the final Chun was not the final card in the dead wall, so Eric not going to get that dealer Mangon. Instead, this actually ends up being a pretty huge hit on Gimmick. That minus 3,000, losing 4,000 points to every player at the table. This creates the first bit of separation we've really had all night.
That's true. With this game being close as it's been so far, but Flanzu really pulling ahead, Gimmick really falling behind. Still plenty action to happen here, though. And looking at that dealer hand, though, it looks like the action's going to happen on Flanzu's side again, though. Already beautiful shapes with Pinzu, with that Anko of 1, the 2-3-4, and a 4-6, waiting on a 5.
Yeah, Oliver and Kenyon might contest that, though. There are lots of pretty hands at this table.
Oh, yes.
Oliver could still create a 7-8-9 Sanshoku, is currently Ish on 10 already. And then on the right, is Kenyon also Ish on 10? Not quite. Kenyon is a little bit... No, Kenyon's also Ish on 10 for an Itsu. Kenyon draws the 2-mon or the 5-mon, could call Ricci, discarding the 5-pin, and that'd be Ricci Itsu.
And bring things right over to her dealership and would put her above the 30k threshold. Which, really all the players still have a chance to get above that at least. Catching Flanzu would be another story, but that can, again, small steppy better than no steppy.
Yeah, Kenyon making a move just towards Pinfu here. Is not going to hold out for a guaranteed Badway Itsu, and instead discarding the 9-mon, giving up on the Itsu, leaving the 1-mon probably as the pair, taking the perfect Ishan 10, just wanting to get to Tenpai, as you said, is very close to 30k, is the next dealer, and there it is, there's the Tenpai, and that's why efficiency works. Now waiting on the 2-mon and the 5-mon.
5-mon just been discarded too, so if someone's not counting the Genbutsus right, would think that's safe. But I think these people would. That's just a mistake that people like me make. Oh, draws the 2, but that's going to fit pretty well in the hand. Well, you have that awkward moment where to complete that shape, you'd have to drop one of them to really seal it in, but...
Luckily, though, with the Nobiton shape, you really expect to draw somewhere around that shape and make every tile useful. Either you draw a 2-mon or a 5-mon and it becomes a pair, or you draw a 1, 3, 4, or 6-mon and then you have a Rionman. Oh,
but it's going to 2.
Instead.
2 Han winning there with a... Looks like Ricci and... Not Ricci. What am I saying? Well, it's already moved on. But 2,000 points there.
Yep, Ricci Pinfu.
Ricci Pinfu. Thank you. And now we are on to Yukitora's dealership. It's South 3. Some beautiful Manzu shapes here. Could try the Itsu again. That could happen again here, I suppose. Has the pair of Souths as well to kick things off. And looking over on the other hands for Oliver, has a good presence of the Pinzu as well. And, has some decisions to make with the honors there, but we'll see what they do. Yukitora calling the Souths to move a step closer as dealer.
Yes. Kenyon could take just the Itsu, as you were saying, could also just go Honitsu in the Manzu here.
It's Itsu time either way. Picking up the Chun could also add a little bit of value to this. You just want to play for speed right now. She's got the best chance of catching Flanzu at the moment.
Yeah, is only 5,000 points behind. As dealer, that is really easy. I mean, this hand would do it already.
Absolutely.
Might be a little bit worried about not having any of the Dora Tuso. Currently, all those living in Oliver's hand. There's 3. And Gimmick has 1, but Oliver with the clear advantage. Ooh, but there's the Ricci. So waiting on the 4-mon or 7-mon for Ricci Pinfu Dora 1.
That would give him a good chance to really even take, well, maybe not the lead, but a good chance to be in striking distance of the lead, perhaps, for South 4.
Yeah, and Oliver definitely wanting to fight this. I mean, you don't want to deal into last place Ricci, but you have all of the Dora. Their Ricci can't be worth that much unless they have, some, Itsu, Sanshoku nonsense. Yeah, definitely pushing this. Calling Ricci, waiting on the 2-mon. You have a Mongon if you win it.
It's a poor weight, but has some explosive value here. Of course, as we can see, the 2s are already residing in hands. It is floating in Eric's, though. It could conceivably come out of that. There is 1 in the wall as well. Oh, there's a 4! And there's the Roan.
So Ricci, Pinfu.
With 1 Dora, no love from the Uras, but that'll be just fine. Yeah. Moving to 278, 27,800 points, rather. As we move into all last, with Oliver taking the final dealership of the game. Good Manzu shapes here. I'd say he's getting ready to push for a Honitsu of some sort. Maybe even Itsu Honitsu. We'll see.
Right. Need to win something as you are in last place. There's not going to be any folding from Oliver here.
A Mongon would put him back over the 30k threshold and shake some stuff up in the leaderboards here. Or the scores in the game, rather. Yeah,
Kenyon's hand on the left, though, is pretty likely to prevent Oliver from getting there. It's going to be... I mean, racing Kenyon or Gimmick at this point is going to be incredibly difficult. They both have incredibly efficient, very nice, almost complete hands.
2 Onkos already. You could also turn one of those Onkos into a pair and a sequence with a 6, 7, 8. That looks scary.
Yeah, Oliver calling the Honitsu. That's what he needs to do to compete with speed.
As a South Hatsu and Haku there, not Haku, Chun there.
Eric's trying to decide what shape to discard. Decides to discard the 7-9 pin. Is now not quite Ishanten. It's still 2 Shanten.
And another call now from Oliver. Is Ishanten?
It's still 2 Shanten. Doesn't have enough shape.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Usually 2 calls and a pair would be Ishanten, but not
Not when
having
you've
the 5th block needed is a problem. Oh, the 2 pin draw. Do we see a shift towards a pin Honitsu? No.
not
Is
that
is
time
is
though.
is just chilling.
And Flan, though, looking at what he can do here, picks up the 2-pin. He's in good shape. Oh, that is an
Yep.
Itsu. That is
Has
an
the
Itsu now.
confirmed Itsu. The only problem is waiting on the 2 mon and the 5 mon, which are also Oliver's Honitsu tiles.
It's interesting when you've
Oh,
got...
that's Tempai for Kenyon. Don't
Oh,
ask me what kind of Tempai. I don't know, but it's Tempai. It's
Korak
gonna
said
be
it
some
best
sort
that...
of incredibly complicated weight. Yeah. This is nice. I can do this one. This is the 8 mon, the 6 peen, or the 9 peen.
There you go.
Winning on the 9 peen would be San Anko. Wait, any of those wins is San Anko. That is really weird. It changes what the 3 Anko are according to what you win on, but it is San Anko. Oh no, it's not. Not on a Ron. A Ron on the 9 peen is still San Anko. A Ron on a 6 peen or 8. Okay, or you sumo it, and then it's obviously San Anko. That's a huge win for Kenyon.
Very huge win, and coming from behind. All that's left is for Tenno to acknowledge it, and there you go. Very nice sumo victory for Yukitora there. That's gonna... Oh, 8M Ron is not Sananko, as Korak pointed out, but still a win. Yukitora getting 22.2 points. Eric with 10.8. Gimmick losing 8.5, and Ash losing 24.5. You see the updated scores now on the the right side of your screen. Flonzo back in the lead, despite taking second there. Kenyon in third, Hung with in 8th place, just above the par line, and Oliver sinking to 15th. But again, still early on. He has plenty of time to make up that point deficit.
Yeah, these were 2 huge games for both Eric and Kenyon. They rocketed themselves up into first and third from third and fifth, and are sitting in very good position. Although Steve, who is another just absolutely amazing player, is kind of. I like to think of Steve as the foil to Korak. Steve is kind of the master of Dama. Up there with Kenyon and Eric, but that Hanchan was one of my favorite kind of Hanchan to watch, where you have everybody is close the entire game. No one ever pulls ahead. No one ever falls behind. Everybody's fighting the whole time for position. Everybody at that table had to be tense the entire game too, because you know that everybody has the skills to totally flip the scores at any moment.
And that's exactly what happened. Yukitora flipping the scores there, and as our broadcast director Nathaniel pointed out, perhaps she was thinking about going for that Suanko. Perhaps doing the math, think, okay, can I still win with this? Yeah, sure, sumo.
Yeah, that was a really weird San Anko to look at. It's really weird when you can being able to run for San Anko on the 9 pin, but sumo anything for San Anko really makes it a lot harder to see. The 6, 6, 6, 7, 8 shape is what made that a little bit more complicated to look at.
That's right. Yeah, as again, as Korak put in the chat, that was a Pinzu shape that really hurt my brain too, and trying to figure out the weights there too was a little interesting, but definitely Kenyon had it in mind, knew exactly what to do there. Good round, really, from all the players tonight, and that is actually the end of Game 4. The graphic doesn't quite show that, but 2 pretty solid games tonight. Again, we saw 2 different ones. One where Eric really grabbed the lead and ran with it and was pretty safe distance away by South 1. And then, like you said, one here where everybody is close and fighting with any hand they can get, just dropping in quick jabs every so often. But then, well, we saw Eric get a good lead there, but then not quite far enough, because then Kenyon comes in to lay down the law and take this victory tonight.
There are still a couple more Hanchan that have to be played in A1, but as things currently stand, A1 is the only pool with no players in the triple digits yet.
Very interesting. Yeah.
First
We
place
had
in every other pool is above 100, although, one of those is a little cheap to say. B1, Crow, has plus 109.6.
and you can
So,
see
so
the
it's just
standings
barely
here,
above.
and you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, so I think that shows that A1 was really grouped together pretty well. A lot of players on the same skill level, and that skill level is intense, I must
That
say.
skill level is very, very, very dot 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 good. Like,
Hmm. Lots of varies in there. And we'll see how that continues to shake out. Unfortunately, that is the last game for tonight. A bit of a shorter stream, but definitely hit that follow button. Definitely stay engaged. We are also on YouTube as well. You can just search for American Ricci on YouTube and find us very quickly that way. You can also find us on Twitter as well at American Ricci. I can be found on Twitter at SB Singletary. Tucker, where can they find you?
nowhere. I hide
Oh.
in little treasure chests all over the country. Although, if you do happen to just like find a treasure chest in a park, open it up, and find me inside, I do reward you with a copy of Phenomenology of Spirit, which is one of my least favorite philosophy books. Just to let you know how much I'm proud of you for happening to locate my uh, existentially bored body just somewhere out in nature. We should also give a shout out to Nathaniel. Thanks for making this
Of course,
broadcast possible as our director.
absolutely. If you want to drop your deets there in the chat, go right ahead, man. This was a great broadcast tonight. Definitely some action at the pinnacle of the ARML. Tucker, any parting thoughts before we close out tonight?
Yeah, be sure to stay on the lookout for more action happening this weekend. There
That's
are
right.
more games planned for Saturday, June 11th, tomorrow at, well, this would be 8 a.m. Pacific time or 11 on the East Coast, so a very early game. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Psst, I was looking at the Montreal Ricci Open that's in our event.
Oh,
There are not currently any broadcasts scheduled except for Monday. The next broadcast I'm aware of is on Monday. It is the reschedule of an A1 game that got delayed that some people might miss in the schedule since it is delayed into session 3. That will be happening on Monday evening. I do believe that will be Brett, the founder of the Negative Gang, and I commentating with Nathaniel as the director. So keep an eye out on that. And also always keep an eye on the Discord. Since this is a volunteer commentating group rather, we tend to plan things just kind of whenever we can. So some people might not have posted their availability for the weekend yet. There is very much the likelihood that another game will get broadcast.
that is
Or we might
true.
just take the weekend off. You never know.
But definitely the best way to keep up on our broadcast is to hit that follow button, little heart underneath your screen. If you're on the main site. On mobile, I believe it's in a panel you can bring up. It's different across all different platforms here. But that'll do it for us tonight. For the ARML, for Tucker and Nathaniel, I'm Blane Singletary. Have a good night.